guys, it's Jen. Thanks for joining for another Pride and Grit Spouse Spotlight. I am excited to introduce you, although I suspect you might already know her, but I have Marla with me tonight, and I wanted to give her a chance to talk a little bit about what she's doing, but I also want to spend some time talking about her military spouse path. So first, welcome to Pride and Grit and to our Spouse Spotlights.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoy being here. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So give me a little bit of, I kind of like to start off for folks who don't know you and don't know some of the things that you're involved in, just kind of a highlight reel from a military spouse perspective, what your, how long have you guys been in mil life? And I'm not even sure, are you guys still active or retired, or kind of tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Awesome. Well, my name is Marla Bautista. I am an Army spouse of 12 years, almost 13. My husband is active duty Army. We are now stationed at MacDill Air Force Base here in Tampa, Florida. So we really are enjoying it. Our last duty station was Fort Drum, New York. So definitely
Big difference.
It was definitely a drastic change, and we are so grateful to be down here with the beaches. We would like to go to one. Boy, so definitely loving life here. My husband's been in the military for about 17 years now, so he's getting close to the end of his time. We have 3 beautiful, rambunctious, and clever children.
Aren't they all?
So we're living life, homeschooling. I'm a new homeschooling mom, involuntarily, of course.
Of course.
And so my day job, the job I used to have, I used to be a small business owner. I still am, actually, of the Bautista Project, which is a custom decor and apparel company that donates a percentage of its profits to the homeless community by way of our foundation, the Bautista Project, Inc. And so we go out on the street, and my family, we make sack lunches and hygiene kits for homeless community members. And we've actually done this all over the world, and we involve our children as well.
That's so cool. So how long have you guys been doing that?
About 2 or 3 duty stations.
Okay.
I
know it's funny how we like measure things in duty stations, right?
Like 2 duty stations ago.
Right.
So yes, when we lived in Germany, we actually used to go to a military prison. We had a friend who was a chaplain there, and we used to go visit the military prisoners, and we'd have church with them weekly. And then when we moved to Fort Carson, we got involved there. A lot of the Army bases are kind of in areas that are not so great.
Mm-hmm.
So we always found a large homeless population near us. And so my family would just go out every weekend and just start handing out sack lunches.
Oh, and your kids, so what, the youngest was what age when you started, do you think? Like, not to put you on the spot for that, but
I know.
Yeah, I know, right? But like a little.
Yeah, so my youngest is 5, so he wasn't even born.
Right.
Yeah. So
this is all they've kind of known. This is just what the family does.
It is absolutely normal for my family. And that's kind of what's unique about us as well. We go out there, we're in the midst of, homelessness in the middle of the streets. We're talking to them, we're mentoring them, we're sharing stories, and we fellowship with these people all the time. And my family, my children, we taught them that these people are just like you and me. They're not any different from us. And so they don't see them any different.
Yeah.
And so
which is such a beautiful thing to, and at such an early age to instill that in them. I love that.
Absolutely. Yes.
And so you said you guys are funding this from a portion of proceeds from the business that you have. And that's how, like, all that encompasses the Bautista Project, correct?
Yes. So yes, we have the Bautista Project, which is the LLC, and then we also have the Bautista Project Inc., which is the foundation. And the foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit that uses community funding, but then also a portion of proceeds from the Bautista Project.
Okay. Yeah, that's where did that I guess, where did that idea come from? Like what, what was the thing that made you, like, oh, okay, this is, was it that I'm going to have this company and I want to do something, philanthropic, if you will, or I want to give back in some way with a portion of the proceeds, and this was the thing you decided? Or, was it the other way around, that you knew you wanted to do this and then you kind of figured out how to create a business around making it happen?
So actually, not so fun fact about my life. I was actually homeless when I was a teenager. I was put out onto the streets. I lost both of my biological parents by the time I was 10 years old. So I
Wow.
actually had an abusive childhood growing up with my stepfather, and I was made homeless as a young adult. And so
Mm.
when I was homeless, I actually used to go visit a church, a Catholic church, every day. They would serve lunch. And every day that they served lunch, there was a really long line outside. And I remember waiting in that line. And when I
Mhm.
waited in the line, there were volunteers that used to hand us like little bags of hygiene stuff with
Oh, right.
that. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that. If I ever
Someday.
overcame that situation, I want to do just as those people did, because they didn't expect anything. They treated us as if we were normal
Mm.
um, members of
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
And they fed us and they encouraged us. And that's all I want to do, because that's all people need. It's just a little bit of encouragement and guidance, and you can change their lives. And so
Hmm.
when I tell people and I talk to people about my story, I say, imagine seeing me out there. You
Right.
don't get to know people like me because you don't take the time to get to know them. But if
Sure.
you got to know them, you might see someone like me out there on the streets. You might get to know there was this really young girl that was out there on the streets, and she was really smart, but she was homeless.
Right.
She had nowhere to go. And so with just a little bit of guidance, people can change someone's life. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to just take a moment and, whether it's donating your time or some money, you can help change the world. And that's super impactful. And I want to encourage everyone how important social impact is in our communities, especially within the military community.
Yeah. Now I can only imagine how just like fulfilling it doesn't feel like the right word, but just, I don't know, for me, I could imagine it being kind of emotional that first time, like this thing you've been wanting to do, and the first time you actually go out and do it, was that was that experience exactly as you expected, that sort of that first time that you were able to help someone in that same manner?
Yes, it is super fulfilling. So that's definitely a great word you can use. For me, it fills my heart. It just makes me so happy inside. Like that is what I'm getting. I'm not
Right.
just giving something away. I'm getting something. So many people that don't have the privilege of volunteering don't really understand. When you're giving something, you're getting something back. And for me, it fills my heart to know that I'm helping someone change their life, that these people will remember me, that these people will remember the gestures, remember my children, and remember that someone actually cared about them. And
Right.
that is the encouragement we all need, because we all need support, whether it's military spouses, our soldiers, we all need support to thrive, and so do they. So
Well,
definitely. Fulfilling.
yeah, no, I'm sure it is. And I like it. It is, I love, the integration of your family and your children, and making that all a part of just who you are and what you do. So that's really, I'm glad you shared all that, because that's a great thing to support. So on the kind of the thriving front, I'm interested in, kind of from a mill spouse standpoint, like what are, after the years that you've had, the decade plus, what are, some of the things that you would say from a thriving standpoint that really have made that harder, to thrive, and then the things that really have helped, to kind of support you in thriving and enjoying this life?
Well, as a military spouse, it is very difficult living without a community, without a village. I learned that very early on. When my husband first went active duty, he was in the reserves, and he went active duty, and we moved from Denver, Colorado to Schofield Barracks, Hawaii.
Mm.
So we moved to Hawaii. And when we got to Hawaii, we moved into the hotel, we moved into our house. Well, our household goods weren't there yet, and our
Right.
vehicle area, and my husband had to leave to
Mm.
go to the Big Island for training. I was all alone. I was 24 years old, I want to say,
Right.
and I had no children at the time. And I was alone in a house with no furniture. I had no car, and I
Mhm.
had none. And so I had to kind of make friends quickly. And I did
Right.
by visiting the Army Community Services. So at the Army Community Service, I don't know how it is for other branches, but it's like an all encompass. Like if you ever go to a new duty station, you want to go to
Yeah, oh, yeah. First
the
stop.
yes, first stop, because they will tell you everything you need to know, where to volunteer, what are the hours of the commissary, if there's a shuttle on post, what the stops are, where
Yeah.
the fitness centers are, daycare centers. Like that's your first stop. And so
Yeah.
for me, that's kind of where I met people. I would go to the ACS and they had classes. So like Army team building, Army family team building courses. And these courses help you integrate into military life. They taught you about reading your spouse's LES. They taught you about the rank structure. There were just so many different elements of military knowledge and customs that I was so grateful, to have
Yeah.
learning that, and not only learned about military life, but then I also made friends. And then
Right.
when I made those friends, I was able to get into volunteering. So of course I started volunteering with the FRGs within the units. And that was just definitely, that was my family. That
Mm.
was my family, after moving away. My unit family, that was our family. And we became very close. And these were very difficult times back in Iraq a long time ago.
Mhm.
So when our husbands got deployed, we would all come together, and we had our deployment sisters, and we would all sit together and watch Army Wives and have potlucks. That was our thing. And we volunteered together, and we do bake sales, and you know, but that was our community. That was my sense of community, and that was our village. And today, it looks a little different because we
Mhm.
do have social media, whereas back then we didn't
Right.
social media. And so,
It's definitely a blessing and a curse, I think, in this life because, it's awesome to get to keep up with people all around the globe. But when you had those really tight connections, sometimes I don't know, it's just I feel like there's also a downside of how much we get to watch everyone else as they sort of go on to their next phase of life too.
well, it's like we kind of physically disconnect from the units, from the military. And so today it is kind of disheartening to see a lot of the spouses who know nothing about the military.
Hmm.
Husband has been in, or their spouse, their wife or their husband has been in for years, and they know nothing about the military. They're not involved whatsoever. And that's what kept us sane back in the
Yeah,
day.
right. I know yeah. Now, I mean, I'm part of the same, 2000, was it 2004, I guess, I met my husband. So, I mean, feels like forever ago. And it was different. And to your point, like a lot of there was a lot of community because it was somewhat of a necessity given that there wasn't the access to information that there is now. You had to go to people to get the
Right.
information, really the good information you really had to get from people. So a little bit of a difference. So the community is awesome, is what I heard. The isolation piece, not so awesome. But as someone else had said, it's like two sides of the same coin, right? Like it's, you know, um, it is just sort of is how it is in this life, I guess. But
It's definitely a double-edged sword. Honestly, I am okay when my husband leaves. Um, I'm not the saddest person in the world. I do like that time. I like to have the bed to myself, live on my own schedule. And I think that's what kind of was my biggest piece within military life, was the identity piece as a military.
mhm,
Losing your identity was something that I dealt with, because I kind of really got engulfed in military everything.
right, right, yeah,
Doing all the things, I was volunteering in all the positions for all the stuff. And then on top of that, I had a husband who was gone. And I tell spouses now, newer spouses, don't lose that. Don't
mhm,
lose your identity. You can take care of yourself and your family.
Yeah, no, I hear that often. I really think there is definitely a conversation, I think, happening now about the necessity of that, and how I think that's longevity, if you will, in military life, um, is really not that it's tied to that sense of identity, but it definitely, I think, seems to be making it easier if both people in the relationship have a solid identity, both the spouse and the service member. It does seem to kind of make those years, as you get further at 15 and 16 and 17, if you're trying to do a career, it does seem to make that a little bit easier, and certainly easier to make that transition when you get past that 20-year mark, or whenever the retirement mark is. um, it's super important, and I'm happy that so much is being talked about right now around that, because I think it will help people in ways that they maybe got blindsided by in the past.
Absolutely. I think it's conversations that we need to have,
Hmm.
within not only our ranks, but within our military spouse community as well. Things are changing. We're not the same military spouses that we used to
Yeah.
be. We're not the same housewives or house husbands we used to be. We too have college degrees, and
Hmm.
have educations. We too have jobs. We too have things going on. Um, that, like you said, that kind of helps keep us, together. Because being resentful and losing your identity isn't something that you want. Because later down the line, one day you're gonna wake up, and that day happens, and you wake up, you're gonna realize I spent the last 20 years catering to an individual and leaving myself out when we could have been supporting each other. I think
Yeah, well,
that's what.
yeah, but where there was room to do both, but for a variety of reasons, right? Everybody makes their own choices, and not everybody, wants to kind of go out and do the career thing, and that's fine too. And it's not necessarily about having this professional identity. It's just about, having something of your own, whatever that is. That could be anything. Um,
Right, absolutely. If you want to be a stay-at-home mother, I have friends that do it, and they do it amazingly well. Especially now when you're looking at two sides of the coin, like, yeah, I'm not that. But definitely, there are some amazing stay-at-home moms. There are some amazing full-time volunteers.
oh
I was one of
gosh,
them. Been
yeah.
president of the Spouses Club. I have been FRG leader. I have been both of those at the same time. I have done all of the things, on an installation. And with me, that does give me a sense of pride. It gives me
Hmm.
a sense, because I want to be a part of something. But that's me. That's my identity. Is I need to feel like I'm a part of something. And a lot of times when my husband first left, the first time he left, I was alone, and I felt alone.
Yeah.
I absolutely felt alone, and that was kind of crummy. And so, you need to have something now, whether that's your family and you're really close with your family, whether you reach out to them and you guys talk, on a regular basis, that's great. Having friends, that are civilian or military spouse friends, that's also great. But just being a part of something, whether a book club, anything, I think is very important.
Yeah, no, I mean, it goes back to what you're saying before, right? That community piece. However, you build your community and build sort of your circle. It is the piece that I think is the most commonly cited as the reason people feel like they're sort of thriving, as opposed to just sort of hanging on for for dear life. No, none of us really want to be. We don't want to be hanging on, right? We want to feel like we've we've got this. We're good. Not every
April,
day, but we're good.
let's not mention April of 2020 or
Yeah, no,
March.
no, we're not. 2020 just didn't happen. Like, we're just gonna.
That totally doesn't count.
I know. So if folks are interested in kind of getting in touch with you and supporting your efforts with the Bautista Project, if you can just make sure everyone knows kind of how to find the products that then support your foundation, I would love for you to share that with us.
Awesome. Well, if anyone wants to purchase products from our company, they can visit, www.thebautistaproject.com. If you want to know more about our foundation, you can visit www.thebautistaprojectinc.com. Those are super similar.
Easy, easy.
Yeah, easy peasy. If you Google one, the other one will pop up.
Right.
But definitely, you can always purchase products or, help fund our missions. And either way, you're still giving back directly to the community. And that's something we're super prideful about, is that what we do goes directly back into the community. We go take it directly back to the streets. And that's something that's really important to me and my family.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's so wonderful. I'm so glad you hung out with us. It was really nice to hear what you're up to and hear how you're serving not just this community, but like your wider community at large. Every duty station you go to will be better for you having been there, which is awesome. So thank you for hanging out with us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this spotlight. I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. And we will catch you on the next spotlight. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.